Yeah, yes, a nice muted intro. Here we are again after a Tigers playoff victory. Game 3, Tigers beat Cleveland 3-0. They are now up 2-1 in the American League Division Series. They are 1 win away from their 8th trip to the American League Championship Series. Another really impressive victory today. A lot of fun. Looked like I think it said it's the largest playoff crowd ever at Comerica Park.
Nice.
Rahelia was down there. That's why we're doing the show a little bit later instead of right after the game. But he's going to be settling in and joining us here in a minute. But I am Chris Brown. Alongside me, we've got Yoop. Mike is off doing something else. But yeah, we're just here to kind of recap it, revel in it, and talk about it. So how's it going, Yoop? How you doing? How you feeling about this
doing
series?
Really well. It's almost every day you're like, are we really here? Is this really happening? It's just so amazing. We keep thinking about that record, that magic date of August 11th, right? I think they're 35-14 since August 11th. That's a 7-14 winning percentage. That's 2 solid months of 7-14 baseball. I mean, how could you ever see it coming? That's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's I go and I listen to these podcasts afterward, and then I often just hear myself go, I don't know, man, it's just wild. Like it's there's like we can break it down and look at it, and there are all sorts of tactical things that AJ Hinch has done. But the players have to go out in there and execute it, and that's been kind of the most surprising thing to me is just how often they've been able to make it work.
Yeah,
and it's not. And again, these aren't 11-0 games or 8-0. These are nail biting. 3-0. Well, felt comfortable.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Monday was a 3-0 game.
Mm-hmm.
Today is a 3-0 game. And really, the similarities stop there.
Yeah,
I thought, because Monday's game was Tarek Skubal holding down the fort, taking that team along with him on his back, letting opportunities slip away, the defense making a couple of great plays, and then all of a sudden, after the Quan that catch no catch, Carpenter comes with that rocket shot, like that thunderclap, and just the incredible ending, right? That game had everything you want. Today's game was actually, I think, more representative of what this team has been for the last 2 months. Very workmanlike, 3 one-run innings, no big rallies, no dramatic home runs. They had two 2-out hits and a sac fly, and then the lunch pail crew out of the bullpen. Everybody gets a few outs, and they patch it all together, and boom, they walk away with a win.
Yeah, the word that kind of stuck out to me was just like a systematic victory. They just they set out how they were going to do it, and they did it, and with relatively few hiccups. There were a couple of iffy situations there. Sean Gunther didn't really come in and blow the world away, and they had men on base. And Cleveland went 0-for-8 with runners in scoring position, and some of that's them not executing. Some of it is the Tigers really shutting them down. But yeah, it starts with Kedar Montero, right? Kind of surprise starter.
Yes.
Goes out and has, 6-pitch first inning. Just it's like it's not even enough to really judge him. But
did he even shower after this game?
Is he going to start tomorrow? Why not? But that was good to see, and he looked like he had his pretty decent command, and the breaking ball looked good. But again, it was 6 pitches; it's tough to tell. And I thought they'd push him more, but no, it was. And this is just AJ Hinch doing he knew that if he had a right-handed starter, that Stephen Vogt would put all his lefty bats in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Stephen Vogt knew this too, that he would probably just pull that right-handed starter shortly thereafter. But what can you do? Because if you don't put your left-handed bats in there, then Montero goes another couple innings, and now you're handing the advantage back over. So it's just AJ Hinch has just kind of figured out that no matter what, if you wait and you surprise people with your starting pitcher, you can really kind of control. I don't know. I'm not a chess player. I don't know if having the first move works more often than not, but it just seems like he's dictating the way the game is played from the start.
From the start is the key, right? And they're showing that I used to get so insanely mad when pitchers used to bat, and and National League managers would say, well, it was too early to pinch hit for that pitcher, and when the bases were loaded and you were down by 2 runs, it's too early.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch is really showing that it's not too early to chase the best matchup and put your team in a position to score early, because those runs are pretty useful in the 8th inning. So that to me has been the lesson I hope a lot of people are taking away from what the Tigers have been able to do. Not that they'd be able to play like this every year, because who plays 700 baseball for 2 months, but it just shows what, if things work out right, what can happen. Today, I think, Cleveland had 2 runners on base 4 times, couldn't convert any time. Will Vest, let's face it, had a little bit of BABIP luck early on with the line drive and then a couple shots into the outfield. But then he ended up with a strikeout with his last guy. He decided to take chance out of the equation and fired a couple of heaters past people. The Sean Gunther thing, boy, here's the thing. After he walked Rocchio, I was ticked, because that guy, he's a 200 hitter and banjo hitter. Why are you going to walk him? But I would have bet $1,000 Stephen Kwan was going to get a hit. Well, the next guy up. And luckily, Vierling speared that liner and all was well.
Yeah, I mean, Kwan is what do you go 3 for 4 today or whatever? He's hitting like 450 in the DS so far. I mean, he's a tough out no matter who you get. So it's one of those things where that might actually be at a Hinch's advantage. Just like, well, I don't, we're kind of out of luck no matter what with Kwan and Ramirez. So whoever, is before them and after them, that's who we're going to go target. But it was, we mentioned Montero, and then the Tigers get started off right with, Parker Meadows kicks him off with a single. And just exactly what you want to see. And, Carpenter didn't get him over, but Vierling did. And Vierling had another quiet, terrific game. It wasn't quiet. He made that amazing jumping catch, but he got a sac fly later, got the runner over. And Riley Green came through with a 2-out hit, which we've been kind of waiting for. We knew it would come. He's Riley Green, and he did. And that's, just getting the lead is, I don't know, I have the numbers next to me, but I'm sure it's like the team that takes the lead first wins like 70% of the time, which is just one of those statistical anomalies. But let me, Shawnee Pat in the Hat has given us another donation here, and we don't have, I don't have the great soundboard here, but would like to note that as of 45 minutes ago, I purchased a custom Tigers jersey with Fanatics from Fanatics with the player name TBD on the back. What a season!
Beautiful. Love it.
I've heard TBD described as Tigers bullpen day. All that good stuff. It's working. It just keeps working, and they're going to have to do it again tomorrow. Although I guess it's entirely possible that we'll see Reese Olson go 4 or 5 plus innings tomorrow. So it could be less chaos, but it still wouldn't shock me if we get another opener, and it could be Tyler Holton again, who pitched a terrific ninth. But
Hannafy didn't pitch today. That's kind of where I was leaning toward Hannafy. But Holton, why not?
Well, and Hannafy and Olson give you different looks, despite both being right-handed, right? Now Olson does throw a sinker, but Hannafy's like a pretty heavy sinker slider guy, and Olson's more of a. See, that's one of the interesting things. They've got Olson, they've got Job, they've got Madden. And theoretically, just about anybody who pitched today, I don't think they would want to use Brisky or Vest just because they both worked. There wasn't a ton of pitches. I think Brisky threw 27 and Vest threw 20, but still, I think they were pitching in part of 2 innings, and they don't like to make guys do that. But it would be interesting to me because I think Olson and Job are a little too similar in the way they pitch that I wouldn't really want to go back to back with them. But who knows? We'll see how it plays out. They still haven't used Jason Foley in forever.
Yeah, I was surprised. He wasn't even heating up at any point.
No,
so we saw. Yeah,
who knows? Maybe he's banged up a little bit. AJ Hinch would have a better feel for his mentality too, right? That was a rough outing there in Houston, and so.
Well, if they're so fortunate as to get to the 7-game series, they're going to need him. So we'll have to just see how that progresses. But that's what tomorrow's game. Obviously, you don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, right? But we're just observers, so it doesn't matter if we do or not. If they can win that game tomorrow, then they got Scooble lined up for game 1 of the ALCS, and that would be so. On paper, that looks so critical to me. So if they can just get that game tomorrow, boy, that really puts you in nice shape to move on to the next round, and whether it's the Royals or the Yankees.
Yeah, it's apparently Kansas City has just tied it. That was after Lugo really was having some trouble there, like walked the bases loaded. But I mean, if you get Scooble to go in game 1, then theoretically he could also go again in game 4.
Yep.
And even possibly in game 7 if need be. Like, it's you don't want to think too far ahead, right? They still have one more win to get here.
Yes.
You got 2 chances to get it. You'd really like them to close it out tomorrow for the fans, for the extra rest, for, as you said, having Scooball being able to go game 1 in the next series. But, just got to go out and do it.
Yep.
And at some point, Cleveland's going to score again, probably.
Yes,
think
probably. But, all year long, you talked about the Tigers offense being mediocre at best at times.
Mm-hmm.
But we've mentioned sporadically, Cleveland's offense, not that scary. And boy, as we watch this series, there's a lot of guys, especially, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you should be able to pitch to pretty consistently that don't strike a lot of fear. I mean, once you get past Ramirez and then Naylor with his 31 homers, who's going to really hurt you in that lineup? It's really something.
Yeah, and that's Hinch doesn't love intentionally walking people, but he's happy to put the 4 up for Jose Ramirez anytime, and I don't blame him. That guy's amazing.
Yeah.
But if you get him away, and there are other talented guys there, but it's not like you said. You feel like you can pitch to the rest of these guys, and David Fry smoked that ball that Vierling caught. That was we were inches away from a 3-2 game
with Ramirez
tying run on second base. Yeah. But game of inches, we talked about it before. Take those inches and give them to the Winslow Perez hit the other day. But I don't know.
What did Vest throw there? Do you know? It looked off speed.
Let me check. I thought it was. Yeah. I don't know. At the time, I was just kind of focused on it getting caught. But let's.
It took such a good aggressive. It almost like that had to be what Fry was sitting on.
Lines out sharply to third base on a sinker, 97 mile an hour.
Was it really? Okay.
Above the zone, up and in.
Yeah. Well, it was a hell of a swing. Well, even if he wasn't laying in the court.
It's interesting. He threw him 6 fastballs, a sinker, 4 straight 4-seamers, and then a sinker again. So he wasn't even going to mess around with a changeup or slider or anything. He was just, I guess that must be the book on Fry. But I mean, that's it could be the game right there. Having that 3-0 lead, you feel awfully good about it, and they close it out. And I don't know, like, again, we talked about it. It felt systematic. It felt like everybody pulled their weight a little bit. It was nice to see Colt Keith get a hit, and then Spencer Torkelson rip a double and knock him in. You hope that can get both of those guys going.
Yep.
And just another huge tip of the cap to Jake Rogers, who has caught 2 consecutive shutouts and got a hit and a walk today. He's like the captain of the team, right? He's just really he's the stereotypical catcher from the movies who's leading this team, and it's
inspirational leader. Yeah, but I was trying to make a case in my mind how Vierling has been more the MVP than Rogers, but I don't think I really can. I think it really is Jake driving the bus right now for the team. But Vierling has been excellent as well.
Yeah, and it's nice to have. It's funny. There isn't a ton of veteran leadership on the team, but those 2 guys are the ones who are kind of it. You could say Eddie Abanez maybe, but he's kind of he's more of a bit player. And speaking of bit players, not bit players, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it again today, and people keep saying like, oh, God, why are you taking Kerry Carpenter out this early? And the answer is because that's what we've done all year.
Yeah,
that's what they keep doing. And Malloy worked a really nice walk. It was another plate appearance. He ripped a ball foul. He was ready to go. And I mean, that's the most impressive thing about all of this is just everybody is completely bought into this. Nobody is. We said there are certain players who aren't getting pinch hit for, but everybody else who might be seems completely fine with it.
Yeah.
And
I think a couple things there. One, Malloy is a small sample, but the team has to be pleased with what they've seen. These are playoff pitching staffs, and he is every time he has not had he's not had an at bat in his postseason when he looked overmatched. It's really been good. I think maybe one at bat he was struck out in 3 pitches.
Yeah, but
otherwise he's looked so calm and just like the guy in the regular season who takes tough pitches, and sadly, if he was a left-hand batter, he'd be playing more. But he's a righty, and they're doing the platoon thing, and that's just how it's going to be. But it'll be interesting to see where his role goes next year. As far as Torkelson goes, a lot of people, when he was at the 0 for 14 stage, you could see it on Twitter and X. People were like, hey, you got to think about benching him. And that's okay. I mean, I certainly understand it, but at least the double today maybe shakes him loose. It shows why he's in the lineup, extra base power, which they need. But the thing about it to me is I don't want them putting a novice first baseman out there in this situation. Yeah. He's not a Gold Glover, but there's no question in my mind he has played better defense since he got recalled. And to put someone out there who hasn't played a ton of first base just on the hope that you get an extra base hit per game or something, not worth it to me. I think you just got to ride it out for the good and the bad with Spencer Torkelson right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's they don't really have another option defensively at first base. I suppose that they could throw somebody out there, A.D. Ibanez or Brett Vierling or something like that. But yeah, I'd much rather have the guy who's got 1,000 innings there, 2,000 innings or whatever. Yeah, and you're right. Like you keep him there because he might run into one.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it helps. While he was doing that, I was looking up his stats earlier today, and it's just got to be something mental with him.
Yeah.
Because I was looking, his career with runners in scoring position, he's a 193 hitter with a 604 OPS. That's almost 100 points lower than with nobody on, and it's even worse with men on second and third. He's 2 for 19 or 2 for 18, and with men on first, second, and third, he's 2 for 24. Like the bigger the situation, like the more it seems like he's pressing, and I don't know how you get somebody to stop doing that. You would hope that with everybody else chipping in, maybe he doesn't feel the weight to come through and crush. But it's just the way it's been so far for his career is he just doesn't come through with men on. He did today, and that was a pretty huge insurance run there for sure. And it was
made all the difference. It changed the tenor of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, you get yourself out of the old bloop and a blast range. Yeah. Now it takes a bloop and a walk and a blast. Or a bloop and a blast and a blast, or a bloop and a blast and a bloop. You know what I mean?
It takes a much longer sequence.
Yes,
put it that
way. We had some comments in here I wanted to get to. Taylor Kirkala said, "I love getting Manzardo out of this series. He scared me a bit as he had limited at bats because of AJ." That's true. Like he didn't get to bat today, right? Or did he bat once?
He batted once. It was Will Brennan who never batted.
Yeah. So and they brought in John Kinsey Noel for him, and that's. That is AJ Hinch. You would think at some point Vogt just goes, all right, whatever. I know you're gonna, have a lefty here, and we're just gonna stick with it, and he's gonna get it back against the righty later. But this is the way it goes. And we have this one from Charles Munger. Why is Jace Young on the roster? That's a good question. It's he did get it at bat today. The only person who hasn't played yet now is Dylan Dingler, I believe, at least only batter. He's another lefty bat who gets on base. That's, he theoretically has power, even though he hasn't hit a home run at the big league level. It's just, I think, what are the other options as hitters? You're talking Akil Baddoo, you're talking Ryan Vilade, you're talking, who am I missing? Bly Madris.
Yeah.
Ryan Kreidler, Eddie's Leonard. There's they're just playing with the guys who got them here, right? You're dancing with who brung you. And I don't know. My stance on Jace Young has not wavered a whole lot, but who knows? I mean, he may be the next guy to come through. I do remember that he had a pretty huge hit in the Williamsport game, right? Wasn't he the guy who got on base and then scored? Or maybe did they pinch run with McKinstry? So, it's not like it's bothering me that he's on the roster. He hasn't played much, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What else do we have there?
I think let's see what Young has had enough torque single, the double. Yeah, mostly people just calling him he can slide well. Yes, it's true. Never forget the Jace Young Kung Fu slide.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I'm not too worried about the bottom of the roster at this point.
Yeah, that's a discussion we'll be having this spring. What they're going to do with him, is he going to earn a gig someplace? So,
yeah, I keep dipping into all right. What do the Tigers need in the offseason? And it's right-handed power bats at several different positions, and there actually are several of them out there. So it's an option. But like every time I look into that, I go, well, they're also in the playoffs right now, and maybe that's where my attention should be focused. So yeah, that just a systematic total victory over Cleveland. You got to be feeling pretty good heading in tomorrow, but Cleveland does have Tanner Bybee going again, and he shut the Tigers down in the first game,
and he made it look pretty easy. He really looks sharp. Now the Tigers have the benefit now. They've just seen him a few days ago. That sometimes that means something, sometimes it means nothing. Who knows? We just got to hope that I think in that first game, didn't they have runners on the first inning? They just could not seize on that opportunity. Hopefully they can score early and get started, just like today. Today was just an ideal start. Get that run and move along with your day. And that would be really amazing to see tomorrow if they have a lead by 6:20 p.m.
Yeah, the way today worked out again, it felt pretty good. The Cleveland had to they used Cade Smith again, and I don't know if it will matter, but theoretically, the more you see somebody, the better you should be. It just seems kind of unfair that. I think he struck out Rogers with his sweeper, which is like his third best pitch, and it still looks disgusting.
Yeah.
But Cleveland emptied the bullpen again, and these guys are probably going to have to go tomorrow unless Bybee, puts the team on his back and goes 7-8 innings. But
sure,
no, they did. They were making them work. I'm looking, so 2 men on in the first inning in game 1, and McKinstry doubled in the second, and then top of the fourth. 2 men on with nobody out, and then Torkelson grounded into a double play. So,
yes,
they weren't, they weren't hitting them terribly hard, but they were putting some pressure on them. And the more you do that, the better chance you have to get into them. And seeing a guy two times in less than a week probably can't hurt. Is he on short rest?
No, I don't believe so.
So the last game was Saturday, right? So
so he's off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. So pitching on 4 days rest. So pretty typical, but again, it's still a young guy, and they've seen him recently. So
it would be interesting. I don't know how they were using him down the stretch. Was he getting 5 days a lot? It's possible.
Yeah, I haven't looked into that either. So that's a good question. And we did have who is this pointing out? Yeah, Deadly Ninja Beast did say that Bo Brisky has turned into Godzilla over the last couple of weeks. He really has. It's kind of remarkable that I've complained about his slider a bunch because I don't think it's like a great pitch. And I'm like, just don't throw a slider here. And then he throws a nasty one to strike out David Fry. We're like, all right, well, never mind. And, he just seems to be able to – it's weird because, toward the end of his outing, it looked like he was spraying the ball a little bit and then just reins it right back in. And it's a fastball, 97, 98 right down, the pipe and the changeup there.
He did throw one changeup to Ramirez.
Yes, the first
88
one.
In the middle of the plate, and I can't believe he took it. I don't know what he was looking for there.
Yeah, that was a cringe pitch there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's Jose Ramirez. You don't really know exactly what he's looking for, but I assumed that he thought it was a fastball, and then by the time he decided that it was actually a changeup.
Yeah.
But Raj has joined us.
There he is,
fresh from Comerica Park. Long day down there. How was it down there? What was the atmosphere?
It was crazy. It was the crowd was probably the loudest I've ever heard it in probably in a long time. But yeah, it was I think the crowd really helped out, and I think that the first RBI single by Riley Green really set the tone a little bit, and but it was a really good time, and for all the fans down there who got down there early and everything, I think it's really set the tone, and Hinch talked about that too after the game.
Yeah, it looked outstanding down there. I was unfortunately not cleared for credentials for this one because of people like Mitch Albom, noted Tigers game goer Mitch Albom.
Yes.
But it's I'm just happy that Raj was able to get down there and he got some great video. Although we learned that perhaps not all video is safe to send out.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. So
yeah, I think it's only during the playoffs. I mean, other than that, 99.9% of the time it was not an issue. But again, props to Tigers PR. They've handled everything really well with everything coming when MLB it's like when the NFL comes in and does the Super Bowl stuff, they have a certain way they want things. And they even had a stenographer. I mean, Chris, I was texting that because I thought it was crazy. They had a stenographer doing the transcript stuff. So, but
Wow.
yeah, there was a lot. It really felt that Hinch could do no wrong in doing in pulling Montero. And that was another thing too mentioned after the game, that Montero had no idea. Montero thought he was going to start, probably go a couple innings or so, but it's just another example of Hinch just kind of knowing his players, knowing his team. And I really thought that he did a really job about like chess maneuvering Stephen Voigt today too. I mean, when you pinch hit for David Fry there early on, I thought that's not Cleveland. Cleveland really doesn't do that. Cleveland has their guys and stick to it. And so I thought that Hinch did a really good job of managing that. So
yeah, we were kind of discussing that early on. It's just another AJ Hinch kind of Jedi mastery of, and we were saying though, like it just feels like at a certain point, the other manager is out of luck no matter what he does. Like, because if you don't pinch hit there, then Montero goes another inning, right? Or things like that. Like not necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like Hinch is just going to make you make the first move, and then he could counteract everything. Yeah, it just worked out beautifully today. We talked about it. Basically, everybody came through, and that's how you end up with a 3-0 win and a 2-1 lead in the wild card series, or the divisional series. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and another thing too that the quote that I'm still laughing about, the quote of Brent Herter, baseball. Just the end of the quote, baseball. Yeah. Just is like that's all it was to me. That's just to simplify it the best way possible. And wait, Stanton stole second? What?
Giancarlo did.
Carlos Stanton. Oh,
well, who's is it? You don't expect it, right? That's how you get it done.
Yeah.
No.
His RBI single earlier, I felt like it seemed like it would have been a home run in just about every other park, but Kaufman is cavernous.
But so I could see the Mets won the series. Mets won the series.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I mean that was a wild one. Did you see it was a Lindor grand slam?
Oh, I just got home. I was I just put on MLB.com and there's a chaos right there. But the other thing about the series, about today's game too, I wanted to mention that I thought was a good indication for the Tigers too, was the Winfield Perez double. To me, just that taking that ball, that was a ground ball that 9 times out of 10, it's just a normal single, but he stretched into a double and caught Noel, who has got a pretty good arm, off guard. I thought that was a good play too. There was a lot of little stuff like that. And Hinch talked about that. One of the things he's talked about is like you ignore the stat line, because Torque and Keefe got their first hits of the postseason, and they're talking about these great at bats, and there's a lot of those grind out at bats today. And so,
Bob Costa sounds like he's had 400 ounces of Metamucil in the last hour.
And it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah, Frank Coeur, Raj, to your point, Frank Coeur mentioned that Wenzel really busted it out of the box right away. I mean, there was no hesitation, and that was what really got him to second base. There wasn't 1 or 2 jog steps where he turned it on.
Yeah, and Hinch just talked about how much of an impact player Perez has been, because he doesn't know if he's going to start him sometimes, and just be able to kind of feel that out. I think that's an indication of what kind of player that Perez is too, in terms of his confidence level right now. It is a spark plug, as Walter said. He's exactly that. But get back to Bob Costas for a second. That double play call he had the other day. I mean, that was almost, come on, dude. Like, look, I understand that. I think I like Bob Costas. I do. I really like Bob Costas. I like the show. I like it. I just saw him recently on the Mr. McMahon documentary, and he swore. And it blew me away that he swore, because I've never heard Bob Costas swear. It's so weird when you hear a guy that you've you've listened to all your life, and he just like says a couple F-bombs. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like hearing your local fill in the blank religious priest, rabbi, or whatever swear. You're like, and that's how it felt. So, but yeah, getting back to, we'll go back to Jonathan Perez, because I don't want to talk Tigers here. He is one of the biggest org surprises. But to me, Sean, one of the things that Chris and I have talked about since day one about Perez, he can hit. It was just a matter of finding a place for him. And ever since he started elevating the ball 3 years ago, or rather 2.5 years ago now, that's to me he was a slap hitter when he first came up at West Michigan, as you recall, Chris. I mean, he was a guy who could hit the line drive, but really wasn't. I don't want to say anemic power. Is that I don't think he had a lot of power yet, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we didn't know because it was ground balls and maybe some low line drives, and then he changed his launch angle in some capacity. You wrote a great article about it a couple of years ago, and he has at least average power, right? Like and he also has a knack for kind of the sweet spot, that launch angle that's getting you over the infield and under the outfield. And those guys sometimes they get underrated, and sometimes they sneak up on you. And Perez, he'll have the occasional rough at bat, but he battles like few other guys on the team do. Like they're players. You'll see Colt Keith occasionally, fall behind 0-2 and work like a 7-pitch walk, or Green did that a number of times this year. But Perez is the one who's fallen off 5 pitches to get that walk. And he's just. I really like the way he plays. I really like what he brings to the team in general. The hustle, the aggressiveness, the kind of no yes catches in the outfield. It's weird because he's got good range out there and he's making a lot of good catches, but they always look a little iffy. You're like, oh no, but he comes through with them. And we talked about before. For me, he's the ideal 4th outfielder who you can play 130, 140 times a year.
No, and Taylor wants to know. I mean, his rise in line with the award development being turned over a little bit. I would agree with that. I mean, he started. It was kind of something that him and Parker Meadows both started at the same time. They were stuck at West Michigan for a while. Whether or not Perez was always known that he could hit, but it wasn't. He regressed a little bit because he went back to Lakeland, as you recall. Now for injury purposes, and then he went back to West Michigan, and then after that, it was history or. He was always regarded as a good shortstop. And then all of a sudden the yips started happening as he started getting up in the higher levels. But no, Taylor, to answer your question completely, yes, it had a lot to do with Ryan Garco, those guys coming in and probably looking at something for him because he already had some sort of prospect status to him. But the problem was that he just wasn't really hitting for a higher launch angle. So, but you're right, Chris. He is the kind of guy that Hinch will use in any type of form, and I think he likes that kind of like about Perez because Perez is fearless, and we've seen that a couple times in a comment with the chat
and
in here. So
he absolutely loves that he's a switch hitter. That is AJ Hinch's dream. Like if AJ Hinch had his way, he'd probably be telling Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark to get in the cage and bat right-handed. So down the line, we can get you guys switch hitting, but. There's just a lot to like about Wenceel Perez. Like if he played every single day, every game, I don't know if he'd be more than an average player, but it's nice to have that. The more average players you have, the better off you're going to be.
When the floor of your bench player is average, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it really is, and he can probably get better than that too, and he does at times.
I think one of the things too, a takeaway. By the way. If you want to donate to the website, there's the link there. Everything goes back to what we do. And please subscribe and like to our channels. We're trying to do a better job of promoting more often, like and subscribe our channels. As Verling, a legitimate starting third baseman or everyday starter somewhere, YouTube user, Inch has talked about the ability for Verling to be ready whenever he needs him to, whatever position. He talked about that today after the game. And I think he plays a good third base. I mean, handle that spot.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where he's another guy that just feels so valuable as kind of that super utility role. But I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they went into next year thinking he's their starting third baseman or he's going to platoon with somebody and then play the outfield too. I don't know. It's tough. He's walking that thin line. He had a very good season overall, but it's not ideal power from a third baseman or an outfielder for that matter. But he really picked up. I don't know. You guys remember? I did like an inside the number. I don't know, 2 months ago about how players with his level of plate discipline and lack of whiffs and lack of chase all seemed to walk in like the 80th percentile. And then there was him at like the 12th percentile or something like that. And then he went on a walk spree right after that. I don't think he heard me or anything like that. Maybe it was just, things coming back to the norm. But if he walks more, then yeah, it's plenty of offense there from him. But I think it's tough for him because he's just a guy who makes really good contact. So learning to when to hit for power, when to walk, when to to slap a hit is something he's still working on, even though he's 28, 29. But I don't know.
It's one of those good problems, right? He contributes in a lot of ways. It's just hard to quantify what he does overall, and so it hurts him from staking out a job as his.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of that utility knife kind of thing.
I'm looking. Sorry, I was just looking up. He's -1 outs above average at third base this year, so it's basically average third baseman.
Seems like his arm has gotten more accurate lately.
Yeah.
Because I used to think sometimes his arm scared me over there, but boy, the last month or so, he's been ball goes to him. I'm not too worried. He's gonna fire the sucker over there, no problem.
It makes those really good long throws, especially when the ball's gearing towards the line. When he scatters the line, he does a really good job of rearing back and getting in there. I agree with you, Uper. One of the things too about Verling is I think that's the kind of player that the Harris and Hinch likes, those guys that can play multiple positions. So I think to him to have a true position, I mean, look, right now, the bottom for me, the fact that the Verling can play third right now in a position that's been a negative for the last 3 seasons for the Tigers, and that's honestly, that's just a relief right now because the Tigers have not had, again, you can talk about Jeimer Candelario or what have you. Matt Verling's been able to at least make him look respectable with that. And I like what Sean said here. Development isn't linear. I think he's still getting about 3 to 5% better defensively and be above replacement level at third base.
Well, yeah, it's funny to think back. Remember, he was supposed to be the third baseman heading into the season, and then randomly in spring training, Gio Urshela gets signed. You're like, oh, all right. Yeah. And then Matt Verling's like, I guess I'm in the outfield now. And then down the stretch, he plays a ton of third base too. So I don't know. I still don't know if the organization is terribly comfortable with him as their starting third baseman next year. But if you told me that they went out and signed Christian Walker or Pete Alonso or somebody to like a big money deal, and they're like, well, Verling's our third baseman now. I go, okay, that's fine. Like, yeah, I'm okay with it because you do want a couple right-handed bats in the lineup every day, most days at least. So, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that going forward.
Charles wants to know if the Tigers advance to the ALCS, what offseason moves happen because of the success? Christian Walker, as you mentioned just now, Chris, extend Skubal. I don't really. I think the way Scott Harris is playing very close to the vest is a couple things. There's been rumors about them extending a couple guys and what have you. So I think there could be a case there. I do think I think the Tigers still have to address getting another power bat. The one thing that's concerning, and you mentioned this the other night, I forgot it was Uper or Chris said this, but the fact that they didn't score until that 3-run homer by Kerry Carpenter, those long droughts can't continue to happen. If you're going to continue to go in the postseason, you're going to have to be more consistent with your offense. And so throughout the season too, I mean, Kerry Carpenter is a fantastic home run threat, and that's great and all, but you want somebody else that can hit from the right side that can give you that. Maybe Kerry Carpenter can see better pitches, and it affects the rest of the order. I really think that he is going to. I think Harris is just going to kind of address it. I don't think it's going to be anything splashy. He might make a trade or two, but I think he's just going to keep it. Just personally, just my personal opinion, just the way he's been, just modest and keep going from there.
Well, I don't know how much you can put into this from Scott Harris' perspective, but remember, San Francisco had a crazy run like this that was even, they won 107, 108 games or something like that. And so Scott Harris was there, and then they had their offseason. They had that run, and that offseason, I'm looking at what they did. They signed Alex Wood to a 2-year contract. They signed Anthony DeSclafani to a 3-year contract, and that's it.
No.
I don't see. I mean, they re-signed Brandon Belt to a 1-year contract and Peter Tago, a bunch of smaller moves, but that is all I see. So yeah, they let Kevin Gausman become a free agent, Chris Bryant become a free agent. So yeah, I mean, obviously those are different circumstances. That team was kind of rode a strange wave of older players having
Older. Yeah.
like one last great season, whereas this one is just a bunch of young guys who are like, who knows what they're going to be in the future.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's nobody leaving unless they want them to leave, right? And I mean, there's really no free agents.
No, I mean, they cleared basically everybody who was leaving, other than Maeda, who technically is signed for another year, and Baez, Shelby Miller, they kind of let go, and then the rest of them they traded away. So yeah, it's interesting, but there are those clear holes on the roster that they can upgrade. A right-handed power-hitting outfielder would be a great one. Rogers wanted Tyler O'Neill forever and ever. He hit like 14, 15 home runs against left-handed pitching this year. Just destroyed left-handed pitching. He would be great to have. Teoscar Hernandez is another power-hitting outfielder out there. Anthony Santander. Like I said, like the power bats that they need are all out there. It's just a matter of are they going to go and sign them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, O'Neill, if you think about the outfield being crowded right now, but I mean, like I said, there's certain things they can do, and I'm sure they would make flexibility for that. But Sean is correct. Chris will never spend the way the most fans want him to, but he said he hasn't spent it all. But to say he hasn't spent it all is insane. However, the thing is, I think this is a theory to me that I'm sticking to, and I'll stick with it. The Tigers are going to build exactly how Cleveland does. They're not going to spend a lot of money. They're not going to. If as much as we want that to happen, I think they'll make moves. They'll spend in free agency when they need to. But are we going to get that big sexy name in the sky? No, I don't. I don't know. I don't think so. It just doesn't seem that way. If you look at how the Tigers won in the margins with Tyler Holton, the waiver pickup, some of these guys are wave development wins. The Tigers who needed development wins, the Tigers have not been able to develop their own players. Again, people seem to think, some people think that the Tigers have done this before. They haven't. I mean, it's been very, very rare that we've seen batches of more than, it's usually 2 or 3 players tops. But you've seen a whole team with that.
So with that said, Roger, do you believe that it's likely in the way they're going to operate to take 2 more really good years out of Tarek Skubal and then wave him goodbye?
I mean, if you follow the Cleveland and Milwaukee plan, then it's maybe 1 more year, and then it doesn't feel like the Tigers should be that way. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Milwaukee and Cleveland should be that way either, but they are. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking. I was just looking. The Tigers right now have $38 million in players locked up next year. 38.8, 25 to Javier Baez, 10 million to Kenta Maeda, and 3.8 to Colt Keith.
Nice.
That's it. And then there's like a dozen arbitration eligible players that are going to add to that. But they can go and sign somebody for $80 million next year, an $80 million 1-year contract, and they'd still be like in the middle of the pack of the payroll. So, yeah, I don't know. There's plenty of flexibility, and I feel like it's for me, it's more about like what Scott Harris is willing to pursue and what he's willing to put the resources in. Because I think Chris Ilitch, after seeing what's going on with these playoffs, after seeing the excitement, after winning again for the first time forever, I don't know how you can't like feel like the contagiousness of that and want to keep going. But yeah, he just doesn't strike me as kind of the star search guy that Mike Ilitch was. Mike Ilitch was like, I want that guy, and then gave Dombrowski whatever he needed to go get him.
Prince Fielder.
Robert, let me clear this up, Robert. In terms of developing players and just keeping the players in the house, yeah, that's like Cleveland. And Cleveland does spend every once in a while, does too, believe it or not. I mean, they don't spend as much as they like to, but Cleveland develops their own players. They try to retain everybody, but develop their players where they're, in terms of pitching, Cleveland's developed pitching. Same thing with how the Tigers are. It's a blueprint of how Cleveland's done things in the last 5 years. I can tell me it's not like Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. No, Cleveland. Cleveland's fourth or third most money they're owed to somebody next year is to Miles Straw, who they DFA'd this year.
Yeah, outside of the spending, I mean, in terms of like the Tigers, I just don't see the Tigers spending a lot of money.
No, what we mean by that is that Cleveland, they they don't mind parting with their good players for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Like they got Jose Ramirez locked up, but who hit the grand slam for the Mets today? Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
He'd probably look pretty good in Cleveland's lineup right now, but they didn't feel like they could sign him. So they traded him for Ahmed Rosario and Andres Jimenez and a couple of minor leaguers who never did anything. And unfortunately, until we see otherwise, I feel like that's going to be the model that the Tigers are going for. With
Well, it's
like
going
I
to be
said.
very interesting too to see how the Tigers view themselves. Because let's face it, again, remember what is going on. They're on a 35-14 stretch of playing 700 plus baseball right now. That's not something that you can count on every year. You also had the Twins have an epic collapse the last month of the season. You can't count on that every year. So, really, they're going to have to, once this magical run is done this year, and hopefully it's not done soon, they're going to have to step back and really decide where are we and what are we going to be next year moving forward. Are we really a World Series contender? Are we a couple moves from that? Or is the basic plan still, still hasn't changed much despite the hot streak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, it really depends on how they spend. But I just look. Yeah, does Cleveland not? Yeah, Robert's right. Cleveland doesn't spend anything. But at the same time, I can see also the Tigers not spending. It depends on your definition of how you spend on spending something. If the Tigers spend $80 million, of course they're going to spend more than Cleveland. All they have to do is sign one player to do more. Cleveland doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't think the Tigers are cutting payroll either. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they're going to continue to. Yeah, they did pay J-Ram. Thank you.
And Andres Jimenez, they gave him a long contract. Those are the sorts of things I could see.
Yeah,
Scott Harris. They already did it with Colt Keith. I could see them trying that with Riley Green or maybe Parker Meadows. I don't know. But yeah, I would just have to see. Even Mike Ilitch. He put the money out there to get Pudge and Maglio. But the big move they made after 2006, they didn't sign anybody huge. They went and traded for Gary Sheffield. And that's more of that feels more like a Dabrowski thing. But I don't know. It'll be a fascinating offseason that I don't want to talk about right now.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
He's got an entire offseason to do this. The Tigers are in the frickin' ALDS right now. They're one win away from the ALCS. Like, I don't know. That's all I want to talk about. I get it. I mean, I was up putting clips of Dyron Lorenzo hitting a single in the AFL last night. Like, there's other stuff to cover, but I really don't want to look too far ahead because this is so fun. I feel like nobody should.
Here's the thing: watching Comerica Park tonight and seeing the amount of the orange towels that's something that we've been wanting to see for a long time here. You've seen it in other markets, and it's just nice to see that here for the first time in 10 years. We have playoff baseball, and a good chance that the Tigers could advance to if they win tomorrow, they're going to ALCS and to take on the winner of either the Yankees or the Royals. The Yankees, who they have had postseason experience with, never lost to them, and
the
they
series
also,
at least,
and they haven't lost to the same. I mean, the last played them in '84, which would be even weird because it would be a rematch of the '84.
Yeah,
we're getting ahead of ourselves right now. The Tigers should just need to focus on winning Game 4.
Let's face it, the dream could be done on Saturday. They go on a 2-game losing streak. This adds it. Yeah. So they tomorrow. We talked about how it'd be nice if they lined up Skubal for Game 1 of the ALCS, but they're not. We can think about that because who cares what we think? I'm sure they are going to be grinding tomorrow to win tomorrow's game. They're not thinking about anything else. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go with the starter.
Sorry.
Oh, Sean. By the way, there's a funny story about Mark Ryan. Mark Ryan on Twitter got ripped by Pat Caputo, ripped on Sean, or not Sean, but ripped on Mark Ryan for being obnoxious, and he called them out on Twitter. And Pat Caputo doesn't do that. Pat Caputo just puts his links out there, and he'll get into it with some fans. But he called out Mark Ryan, and you know what, Pat Caputo, you're in my applause, sir. We might not agree, we might not agree with you on prospects and everything, and but yeah, that was somebody sent me that tweet earlier. It was shout out to Buck on Twitter. who knows that because I've gone off on Mark Ryan sometimes. Like, come on, dude, quit baiting. Like,
Yeah, it's well, it's got to be a fun time. Got to be a fun time for the sports radio announcers right now, because you've got the Lions are actually good, and the Tigers are having this miracle run. Yes, it is. Robert says, "Is it bad when Pat Caputo is the knowledgeable voice of reason?" Yes.
I like what Gage said here too. Rare Caputo W there, but Sean with the line of night. I muted him so long ago makes Valenti sound like Albert Einstein.
I'll say this for Pat. He does at least pay attention to the minors. I don't know how much he watches. I know he watches at least some, but he knows who the players are, which is a step above most of the local radio people, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of funny, but
yeah. Anyway,
yeah. There's like I said, there's plenty of time. I think Youp's point was perfect. Like we could be 2 days away from going, well, that was fun while it lasted. Like,
yeah,
just let's talk about the fun stuff for now.
Or deal the Ninja Beast right here. We're normally talking about Arizona Fall League shit this time of year, and he's absolutely right. Like this,
I can and we can if we like to. Josue Briseño with 3 hits last night and a walk, not a bad first game. Rainer Castillo looked solid through 2 innings, and then everything fell apart in the third, although it wasn't necessarily his fault.
When does Jose Briseño replace Spencer Torkelson?
248-539. No, that's.
Can they call him up now?
Yeah. No, I see. I see the Caputo puts him in the top tier. I mean, I use that top tier in quotations. I mean, he knows about the minors. That's great. So, do I need to bring the ski mask to park tomorrow?
What? To crack some to galooly somebody?
Oh no, I you know what? I get along with everybody over the ticket.
Yeah,
except for I don't think Pac likes Tiger Mining Report though. Probably not, because we make you look bad, because we do, because we're good at what we do. I'm just saying. I'm just saying,
Who is glad they didn't trade Skubal for Jackson Holiday? So here's the thing, like we were all everybody was putting those trades out at the time. That's all you could do. Now you was doing the voice, but yeah, I mean, like I think our final conclusion was like they're not moving Skubal unless they're getting like Westberg and those prospects, because it's gotten to the point now where I used to 10, 15 years ago, I was like, hey, your prospects aren't worth nearly as much as you think, and like that would happen in trades time and time again, and now it's gone so far the other way where prospects are so overvalued that there wasn't a top 100 prospect moved until Lorenzo got moved into the top 100. Teams are just hoarding their prospects now, and Skubal wasn't going to help Baltimore hit in the postseason, but who knows? Maybe they won a bunch more games with Skubal down the stretch, and they don't even have to worry about that. They're playing the Royals right now. But yeah, if you're going to hoard your prospects, these guys don't always work out. We've got one at first base, right? That we really, it's not looking great for long term, and that was the first overall pick. So.
Well, I mean, look at Dave Dombrowski. He didn't hoard his prospects. He traded 2 really good pitching prospects, and now he's gone. He's out of the postseason.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's the thing. And like Dombrowski's never been scared. He traded, was it Klassen and Aldegari, I think, to the Angels, and who did they get? They got Estevez for that.
Estevez, yeah.
And he's the guy who gave up the grand slam today. It's like, and I thought the Phillies had their bullpen solved. Jeff Hoffman was great. Matt Strahm was great. Orion Kirkering was great this year. They Gregory Soto dissipated into a cloud of smoke and got traded. Alvarado wasn't good. Like, yeah, that just. But what cost the Phillies in that series was not scoring enough.
Yeah, their offense. I think maybe the layoff. I think this is where the layoff probably hurt the Phillies a little bit. Really, I think that the Phillies one of those teams that seem like they play on emotion and kind of need to kind of continuously play, but
it is a tough thing. I know some teams get to take the layoff and they play well and win, but baseball is built on that whole day-to-day routine, and it really is something that you take the best teams and their quote-unquote reward is to take them out of their routine. Yeah. So, but what are you going to do? That's just kind of how when they went to this playoff series, wild card series, that's just how it's going to roll.
Yeah, like the only thing you could do is be like, all right, well, it's a 3-game series, and you guys are already up 2 games to none. Like, so you just have to win 2 more games, or it's like, or 1 more game. I don't know how. Yeah, 1 more game, one out of these 3, and you're moving on. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like it's the Phillies have tons of star power, tons of big power bats, lots of great hitters. Sometimes they don't come up with the big hits. There's no one perfect way to build a team. Otherwise, we'd have more back-to-back winners. We haven't had one in what 20 years, 25
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. So I don't know. I feel for Dave Nabrowski, but he's doing just fine, I think.
Yeah.
And the scrappy Mets and their highest payroll in baseball, and the Hawk Tua girl and Grimace are the talk of the town.
Like that Grimace video was fantastic. If anybody has not seen that, Grimace essentially celebrating on a New York subway, correct? Is that what it was?
I don't know. I don't. Grimace came in throughout the first
Yeah.
pitch, right? And then they win like eight straight games, and he became. That's just what baseball is so silly, because of the nature of playing every game. You can have things like the rally goose, or the rally monkey, or the rally squirrel, or Grimace, or gum time, or whatever. It's just nonsense, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that people do it and don't let the Tigers get hot.
That's right.
So only if the Tigers get hot, and that's the big thing. Is we're one game away.
International pop star Jose Iglesias. Yeah, again,
Bailamos.
Another very fun aspect of the season. I saw that apparently the ratings and the viewership for this postseason has been up a ton, which is great. And part of it is they said part of it's of course having the Dodgers and Yankees, but also having all these kind of rivalry games, Cleveland and Detroit, and the Mets and Philly, and all, the Dodgers and San Diego. It's been great. So it's been a great offseason, and it's fun to be able to say that because the Tigers are in it.
Yes.
So
yeah, there we go. And that's what I'm saying. Talking postseason baseball right now, it's fantastic. I don't have to sit there and tell you that instead of talking about Slow Horses, which I just finished the new season, Slow Horses, or Bad Monkey, which is a really good show. Both shows are high quality shows on Apple TV. Rosa, by the way,
Bad Monkey is excellent. Well, you finished it last night. Loved it.
I loved it too. I'm glad, by the way, that she got karma. It was the way it was done was fitting. So, have you watched it?
I have not watched it. I'll give it a go. I saw that the Shrinking trailer for season 2 starts in 1 week. So.
Yes. Yes. I also binge watched that show a couple weeks after you guys talked about it so much. Mm-hmm. I binge watched it, and fantastic. But in Bad Monkey, or what I like about I don't know if you guys watch Slow Horse. If you like MI5 and Bond stuff, it's fantastic. I would recommend Slow Horses too. It's a different type of spy show.
We're a couple of episodes in. I like it. So far, I like it. Yeah.
So
that's the good news with Bad Monkey is the guy who wrote the book, Carl Hyacin, did one other book with the same character.
Oh, there you go.
Really?
So there is a good chance of a second season because there's another book out there waiting for a story to be told.
Yeah. Plus, it's a guy from Deadpool. His friend is what's the guy's name? Larry. Is it Larry, the guy that jumps down the parachute with him?
Oh,
Deadpool. The mustache. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's end the podcast again with thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Chris, what was there other thing you want to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, nothing. Yeah, I was just I was going to talk about the Slow Horses, whatever. But tomorrow, Tanner Bybee going against parts unknown. We think maybe Hannafy, maybe Holton again before into Olsen. We may see Jackson Jobe. Who knows? Pack the park again. Maybe the Tigers go out there and get up 8-0, and you get Jackson Jobe to get the final 3 outs of the game or something like that, and it's a lot of fun for everyone.
You just nailed it. You tore it out of my jaws. I actually think they might just put a beat down on him tomorrow and finish this thing off.
Yeah.
That's just how I kind of been feeling that, the offense is going to bust out once. They probably won't do it 3 times in a row, but one time they're just a night where they string the hits together and the sequencing works.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's 8-1.
Enjoy the rest of the evening. There's some really good postseason baseball on. Royals and Yankees are on right now. And top of the second right now, Dodgers 1-0 over the Padres in a series that's been feisty and zesty and everything that you like. And what's ugly about Dodger fans, of course, but Padres fans, Jackson Proof that robbing him of Mookie Betts, that was a fantastic play. And just overall, you don't either you like Manny Machado or you hate him. There's no either or. So
great base running play last night.
Yeah. So sleep, everybody. As Sean says, sleep tight. Can't wait for tomorrow night. We will be back on air tomorrow after the game. I will probably be at the game tomorrow as well. Again, this is one of the coolest lanyards I'll ever have in my life. That I like. Cody Saberhagen has a really cool collection, and it's not as mine is no more prolific than his, but it's gonna make some it's gonna make it back there. So thank everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and go Tigers.